What's going on, everybody? It's Frito here for your Overwatch, and today I wanted to break down and deconstruct the massive change that's going into Season 8 in January. Competitive is going to be so much different before long. If you don't know, we posted a news update video yesterday where Scott Mercer posted on the forums that they're doing a few things. One, removing SR adjustment from Diamond and above, but also making it so that the matchmaking system teams you up with players that are more close to your rank. So that may mean that GM players don't get matched with diamonds ever, and the queue times are going to be longer, but that's something off to the side. The main thing that everybody's talking about that you should be really excited about is the SR adjustment change. Why is that so good? Well, talking about stats at the higher ranks is kind of silly. Wait a minute. Isn't it silly at all ranks? Well, we'll break that down in a second, but especially at the higher ranks, where mechanical performance of players is going to be quite similar, actually. A lot of the outplays come from not mechanical things, but actually oftentimes the lack of any output. It might just be a positional thing or a timing thing, and it isn't necessarily who's just gaining more stats. It's way more about the team fight context of what's going on. There's far more plays that exist in the context of the fight than could ever be shown in your statistical output. We've said this stuff for a very long time, so we couldn't be more happy about this change. But why are they keeping it in the ranks plat and below? Well, our theory is that the entire purpose of the thing anyway was to really punish smurfs. So I don't think it's the case, actually, that they are trying to just bias towards the higher ends of play. I think they're trying to shield the lower ranks from getting farmed by smurf accounts, actually. But is it even really that big of a deterrent against smurfs? I think if someone tried hard enough, they still could smurf at whatever rank they wanted to smurf at, which is unfortunate that people do that to try to get themselves much easier games and kind of ruin a match-made game for everybody, but it's sort of just the reality, unfortunately. So if you're at some of those lower ranks and you don't mind smurf accounts taking a little bit longer to get boosted by SR adjustments to get out of those ranks, make that feedback known, and then hopefully once the glory days of no SR adjustment at the higher ranks has settled in and we've all been able to enjoy that for a while, then they can have it on the lower ranks as well. I know a lot of you are concerned about that, and I'll just say as a tip in order to get yourselves out of those ranks, game the system. If it's about stats, worry about improving your own mechanical play on whatever hero you're playing, really, and it's very possible to get yourself up to diamond, and then hopefully the team-based game will start. Now, is that actually going to happen? We'll break that down in a sec, but there's another thing that I remember that I saw feedback about this on. A lot of people seem to be worried that there's going to be only DPS players down there trying to get stats in order to rank up, and I want to clear this up. Remember that the SR adjustment system rates you apples to the same hero at your rank. So if you're not very good at DPS, you're going to shoot yourself in the foot trying to play DPS to get stats. That only works if you're actually really good, and then you'll get boosted into diamond. Instead, learn heroes that you're good on or you want to improve and develop, and be mechanically sound on those heroes. Play to win, get those wins, and the system will help guide you up towards a higher rank. At those higher ranks, will the removal of SR adjustments fix competitive matchmaking? I don't think it solves every problem, but I definitely do think it takes a step towards the right direction, and there's a few reasons why. It's going to encourage flex picking. It's going to stop propping up one tricks. Not to say that they'll be gone entirely or it'll be impossible to one trick. You'll still be able to do it. It's just that you won't be artificially boosted by playing a niche hero that a lot of people don't want to play, playing mechanically well, but getting countered. You won't be getting extra SR, basically. You won't have a SR safety net that props up that playstyle. And going into this new system, if you're able to get to really high ranks on some niche hero, it's going to probably be a miraculous feat. It's going to be much more impressive. So it doesn't necessarily kill one tricks, it sort of legitimizes whatever they're able to accomplish a bit more. All of my opinions more or less stay the same about one tricks, but now they sort of are less aggravating because there isn't this feeling in the lobby that they don't care because they're not going to get hurt by this loss that we're about to get when we're getting countered. Now it's going to hurt for them just as much as it does for anybody in the lobby, and you're all in the same boat together. You all have to play together for that SR, and that's so important. It doesn't matter who's having a statistically impressive game, because the truth is, oftentimes, having a really good game on a certain hero might be losing you the game. I know it sounds crazy to say that, but especially if, like, you're playing Roadhog, right? And you're getting a ton of hooks, dealing a ton of damage, damage, and you're the only one getting any kills. That's all well and good, but that value that you're getting might be at the cost of, let's say, like being diva and blocking the key damage that you need to do and being more supportive and peel heavy, maybe getting less individual impact, but having a much broader team impact and the important contextual impact, because maybe they have the high ground. Hog can't jump last time I checked, and Diva can, so she can go get the high ground and do things like that. So the beautiful thing of this is now we can hopefully start the conversation about learning and playing the actual game of Overwatch rather than everyone playing for themselves, because traditionally with the SR adjustment system, that's what everyone had to do. Everyone felt like they were trapped in doing that. Even if they wanted to flex, they were worried that they were going to be getting poor SR gains, because if they flex onto a character to go win a very important 1v1, well, they're not going to be shining as much because maybe that's not their main hero, or who really wants to play that type of way and get less SR? Somebody else can do that. I can play the hero I'm really good at and just get SR, but that's no longer going to be the case. This doesn't flip the switch and make matchmaking this beautiful utopia all of a sudden, but it will slowly set in to allow for game sense to be the key. Overwatch is a very team comp, team fight, game sense heavy game, and it should reward that, and I couldn't be more happy that it's going to now moving into Season 8. I can't express enough how much bad play was getting propped up by this SR adjustment system. One of my favorite examples is talking about tanks, because tanks in general shouldn't be playing for any stats at all. They shape the battlefield and need to be at the right place at the right time, hitting the right abilities, not necessarily getting any stats at all. For example, if the enemy have a team comp that's really good at catching dive, as Winston, you don't want to just go dive at them because it's really inefficient. But in order for you to farm up stats and getting rewarded for stats, you see a lot of Winstons, even at the high ranks, that just non-stop fight, requiring a ton of healing in order to prop up that playstyle. And that's the problem. It really forces your team to chase after you and put their resources into your decisions, and everyone is sort of scrambling just to find stats. The healers need trash damage to heal, the tanks are taking trash damage constantly, and this is sort of the normal state of play throughout the ranks. Whereas in reality, the smart play oftentimes is doing nothing, just standing and holding the right positioning, not getting any stats, making sure that you're ready to catch the dive of the enemy is the actual outplay, and that's what gets me so excited. No longer do you have to worry about racking up a bunch of trash statistical output. Now it's about teams that really understand how to win a team fight engagement, because that's what actually wins games, guys. It's not about racking up stats. I think stats make the most sense when you're comparing damage output between a few DPS classes maybe, but even then, winning duels is so much more important, because if you're playing a hit scan, for instance, the battle that you have with a Pharah or a Tracer oftentimes has a lot of footsies in between that really drops the stat output of both of you. Nobody's dying, but you're kind of battling back and forth for an extended period of time, whereas if you just did trash damage into tanks, you would get better stats, but utterly missing the win condition in doing so. That dance you're having with the Tracer and buying each other's time is what actually Overwatch is about. She dodges the flashbang, plays footsies around, you peel back. That's what Overwatch is about. It's not just purely about what you mechanically can do. There's a whole host of play that finally matters again. So that's a joy in itself. And also, not to go unnoticed, is the other change that they're instituting to make sure that match-made teams are much closer in SR. This is really important because, at least at the higher ranks, especially like at GM, lower ranked players would get filled in those lobbies. So playing in GM wasn't about playing with and against high rated players. It was oftentimes more about who could both farm enemy diamonds and carry their own diamonds to victory, and Masters too as well. But like wasn't playing like, basically, is what I'm trying to say. So there wasn't really like this gradual incline in the skill level of players. The quality of the games were about the same because the same mix of players were always playing in them. Now, you'd assume that that would mean queue times are going to be longer at the higher ranks, but in general, either way, throughout all of the ranks, matches will just be more fair, and you won't have teammates that are widely out of their element in your games. You might have to wait longer for that, but I think overall it's going to be a lot better. The last point I want to make about this entirely is, as I'm sure many of you know, an important thing for us is that Blizzard establish a code of conduct for ranked, and I think the cool thing about this is it's a step towards that. It's so important for Blizzard to say outwardly that ranked is about winning. It's about trying to win together. And Scott Mercer says that in this post. It's not about playing selfishly for your own stats. It's about coordinating to win. I want more of this out of Blizzard. Please outwardly say this, establish this as the norm for ranked, and the community can rally around that. I really believe in that. Because the thing is, even though SR adjustments will still be at the lower ranks, if the upper ranks start to play a bit better and there's a benefit to get there, I think players throughout the entirety of matchmaking will have something to strive for, because prior to this point, there was no light at the end of the tunnel. A lot of players playing ranked found out that getting all the way up to GM wasn't even good enough to have good games. The games played just as sloppy and team play never really became a factor. That was disheartening for a lot of players, and they either gave up or decided to just play in the deathmatchy style of game that we have, and everyone just played that way. But with this big change coming in, even at the ranks where SR adjustments are still there, the culture might change a bit and people might start playing to win because there's actually something to achieve eventually. Getting to a good rank could mean something, and the game sense required to get there is automatically going to be higher now because the ranks won't be filled with players that are only there because what they can mechanically do. A big comparison I like to make, and forgive me for making a football reference, but Eli Manning compared to Peyton Manning. This is where everyone who isn't American tunes out. Okay, I understand. Hopefully you know these names though. They're very famous. Peyton Manning was a player that could get tons of stats throughout the regular season. He was undisputably a much better quarterback than his brother Eli, but when it came to the playoffs, Peyton Manning always struggled, whereas Eli Manning was the opposite. Whenever he got to the playoffs, he could make really big plays and clutch a lot of situations, winning Super Bowls over the Patriots, who are arguably like the best team. And that's the truth about sports competition. It doesn't really matter your mechanical output. What matters is winning the game from the position you're playing. And all the mass output in the world might not be enough if your game sense isn't good enough. And finally now, Overwatch, well, not now, in January, Overwatch can start to move towards being about playing the game sense game, which I think is like 3/4 or more of what Overwatch is. If you enjoy and you're excited for Season 8 now that this is changing, please leave a like. Let us know in the comment section down below your thoughts and maybe concerns about the SR adjustment system. Are you going to miss it? Are you mad that it's not getting removed from the lower ranks? Let us know in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave it a like. It really does help us out and lets us know that you're enjoying the content. If you haven't already, please subscribe because we upload each and every day, so you're going to want to hit the bell icon so that you get notified when our videos go live. Linked in the description is our Twitter, where we tweet out news, updates, and dank memes. That's been it for me. I've been Frito for your Overwatch. I'll see you guys next time.